Hey everybody, welcome back. Been out of pocket for a little while, I know. Sorry for the long delays in my videos, but you know, other things happen in your life and have different interests and what have you. It's getting cool weather now, it's Halloween, and so this video, I shot a lot of it back in the spring before I set out on my I had a race in June, which was a 340-mile run from Arkansas to Georgia. Enjoyed that. And let's see. In August, I lost my mom. She was 91. She had dementia and Alzheimer's, and she just she went peacefully, and she was ready to go. And so now with cooler weather and things like that, I'm going to try to streamline my videos. The way I done videos, I got into it and I started doing editing and adding and putting more enhancements to it and everything like that. And I was finding that it was taking a lot more time on the computer than it was on the bench. So I'm going to try to do a little bit better balance of that, so there's less editing and more substance. And we'll see how that works out. So hope you enjoy this. Sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Hello everybody. In part one, I'm going to introduce a new project. This is a Stewart Warner model 13-5U2 made of somewhere around 1940. Before we get started, I want to call your attention to two individuals that I watch their channel every time they post a video, and for some reason they're not getting the subscriptions or the views that they really deserve. And I'd like for my subscribers to just check these guys out, and you know, very entertaining and very informative videos. The first one is Fibber's Closet. He goes with record players and radios, has a real good method and a good demeanor, and I recommend that you at least give him a try there. And the second one is Hallicrafter's Rehab. This guy, Albert, he digs into the Hallicrafters bit by bit, and very interesting, very detailed. So check those guys out. Let's talk a little bit about Stewart Warner Company. It's based in Chicago. This information that I'm providing came off of Radio Museum, and it came out of Alan Douglas's book, Radio Manufacturers of 1920, Volume 3. So it's not mine. I want to give the credit to where credit is due. But Stewart Warner, it actually started out as Stewart and Clark, and it was they made automotive parts. Mainly, it was like 1905. They made automotive parts for speedometers, or made speedometers. And then in 1912, the Warner Instrument Company merged with them, and then around 1925, they started making radios. And the company they made radios from 1925 to 1954. And the company is actually still kind of active today. It's called Maxima Technologies, a part of Actuant Corporation. So I guess they're still making car parts. I didn't dig in it that far. But in 1925, they were doing radios, and they went ahead and bought a tube factory in New York, which the factory was making Silvertone tubes. They didn't do really good with that, but because they were still in the automotive business, it kind of bailed them out, so they did okay. Now, several times the radios, they were making up like 1,000 radios a day, and so they overmade and couldn't sell them, and so that kind of put them kind of in a financial bind. But because they were diverse and had the automotive industry was making parts there, they were able to stay afloat on that. In 1926, they were sued by Westinghouse because Westinghouse said that in certain conditions the Stewart Warner radio would oscillate, and it violated their patent for the regenerative receiver. So that kind of got resolved in 1927, when Stewart Warner, they bought the RCA patent pool, which you've seen those patent numbers on the back of radios that says it lists all the patents. So that kind of got them out of that. But that's a little brief history on Stewart Warner. So let's talk a little more about this particular one. Okay, let's explore this radio a little bit. Like I said before, this is a Stewart Warner, made right around 1940-ish, called a Faradyne, model 13-5U2. Now, it's a 13-5U chassis, and there's 9 versions of this, and the way I understand it is the cabinet determines the model. Now, you'll notice that I'm already missing my knobs. Doing the research of this, got to looking, and I believe it has white knobs on it. But I have seen multiple pictures with brown knobs and different knobs, and I just don't know what knob goes on this. Also, if you'll do a little more research, you will find a cabinet just like this by the Air Chief, Firestone Air Chief, and it had brown bullet knobs on it. So anyway, it's kind of got a rounded, contoured front, and this looks like this has been up against something, scarred it. It's got a decal. This is the band or dial, and these are split knurled knobs, and that's probably why the knobs are missing. This is the volume on and off, and let's look in the back. It's got a back on it, and it says it's got an antenna, and I believe it's over here in the end. I think I can see it over deep down in there. I can see it. It's mounted to the side. Now, this is an All-American 5, and the tube complements is the 12SA7, the 12SK7, the 12SQ7. The output audio amp is the 50L6, and the rectifier is the 35Z5. AC/DC, 117 volts or so. So, a little piece of veneer missing here. We'll have to repair that, and we'll go from there. Need to find some knobs. So guys, my detective guys out there, start looking and tell me which knobs goes on here, and let me know. I guess you can put one with set screws on it. They'll be fine, but these are split knurled. Already got one screw missing on the back. Shouldn't be hard to replace, but the back looks pretty good. It says it has a magic antenna. So As you can see right here, the model 135U. And we'll get to see more of the magic antenna here shortly. Ooh, dusty city. Now, that's always a good sign, a loose wire. Maybe that's for an external antenna that comes out. Was that supposed to come out through here maybe? Yeah, that's probably for an external antenna. It is. I can see it on the schematic. We'll look on the schematic here. A blue wire. That looked like blue to you? Bet it did. Anyway, shows an external antenna there. Awful dusty. And the magic antenna here. I took this outside and blew it out. It seemed to be a real fine sawdust. Dust. And as you can see, someone wrote the tubes in there. I think everybody still does that. As you can see, the tuning condenser is not fully meshed. As my good friend Phil over in England, Steel City 321 PB, pointed out. And this is something that, it's one of those attention to details that, and you can tell Phil's experience that I think he worked in repair for many years, from what I can tell. And that's just something that he automatically does, and he pointed that out. And that's a good point, because you can bend those plates. And you've seen me, I think, on the Zenith not too long ago. One of the plates was bent and the radio wouldn't work. As we see here, this looks like some asbestos padding underneath here, so we'll have to take care of that. One of the things about asbestos, and I covered it in the 1931 Superette R7 RCA. We had a small patch of it, and we encapsulated it with some high temperature acrylic paint, or lacquer. No, it wasn't lacquer, it was just acrylic paint. It was high temperature though, because it was next to a tube, output tube. But just briefly about asbestos, there's concern about it. It's a mineral, it's mined out of the ground. The small fibers get in your lung, causes asbestosis and a lot of other complications. The only time that asbestos is dangerous is when it's friable. Friable means that it's dry, it's brittle, and when you do this, little fibers come out into the air, you breathe it, it goes down your lungs, it imparts and sticks into your lung, kind of like a piece of wire or a briar or whatever sticks into your lung, and it causes that irritation and everything, and over time it develops into asbestosis. All the screws are here. I'm going to take these 4 screws out, pull this out, and we'll get a look underneath here. Now, here's one thing. I won't have to worry about taking the knobs off because I don't have any knobs. Now, you guys do the research for me. Find which knobs I need to be looking for, because I'm confused. I'm just totally confused on it. So let me pull these screws out. We'll pull it out and we'll look at it. Okay, got the screws out. Let's see if we can slide this out gently. Not to disturb. Oops, that magic antenna's kind of hung up there. Let's see, I may have to come this way with it. There we go. Let's see, maybe I won't get a tarantula under the bottom. All right, let's set this to the side and look inside the cabinet a little bit. I think we can see if you can see here. Let's see. Here is the looks like sawdust here. You can see it's real fine. I'm just doing a quick wipe down, taking a Clorox wipe and some and just kind of wiping stuff down. Speaker looks pretty good. I'm just not really doing a good wipe down. I'm just getting all the loose stuff off right off the bat. And it'll help in the assessment. Help keep things halfway clean anyway. I wiped that off. Looks a lot better. It's still a little dirty, but we'll have to wipe it off a little bit more. Hemostats, that's the word I was looking for. But you get you a small piece of, and you're able to go and get down in between. I guess you'd appreciate me getting my arm out of the way. And I'll actually get a smaller piece to even get down. But this is getting the grungy right off the bat. Just kind of a dusting, but it's a little damp, and so it helps to clean up a little bit. I'm gonna cut this in two. Okay, just wiped it off. This is kind of a greasy film, and all this will be cleaned up, but I've just got the major stuff off. So let me flip this over and see if we can't look under the bottom. Here's the underside. You're seeing it as I see it. Here's the electrolytic. It's there's three inside there, a 40, a 20, and a 20. The 20, one of them is 25 volts, and so I believe it's probably on the 60L6, probably. Yeah, here it is right here. This is on the cathode bypass. That's the 20, along with this 50. Let's see, number 15. That's a 140 ohm resistor. That's the bypass, cathode bypass on the 50L6. So it's also inside and looking. I believe everything's original. I do not believe that this is has been touched. Okay, I don't do this very often, but I'm gonna do a power up on it, and I will keep a close eye on everything. Power's on. Hey, like my new knobs. Okay, I turned it on. That helps a little bit. Voltage is about 20 volts or so. Current minimal. Coming up a little bit. We're coming up to about 50 volts or so. Less than 100 milliamps. Coming up a little more. No illumination in the bulb, but the bulb is probably not good. Still less than 200 milliamps. I don't see any tubes lit at this point, which is probably not a good sign. But we'll go on up to about 90 volts. But I do see a light coming up. Usually about 90 volts is when you start seeing things happen. Still less than 200 milliamps. Right at 100 volts. hear some sound. Current still looks okay. Hearing something. So we definitely, I think we got operational radio. But a lot of distortion, little hum. So I think a recap will take care of all this. What do you think? Okay, let's cut this off so we don't do any more damage than took a risk, but I think we got something to work with. What do you think? Okay, I think what we'll do is we'll do this in stages. I think I'll change the filter cap out. It's got this nice terminal block here, which I think we can just take, to which the filter cap is connected to. I think we'll be able to utilize this block and just replace this here. And then we can check the various components and things like that. Okay, as you can see, I covered the speaker. Don't throw these away because typically they can be used again on another radio. So let's get on the bottom here. One of the things that we will do is we will end up putting a polarized cord on, but for now this will be okay. We're going to do this. I've done some of the checks that we normally do, and I'm sure you're probably tired of seeing the routine checking for continuity is all I'm doing. Haven't checked all of it, but what I'm going to do, since this hadn't been touched, I feel comfortable it's going to work. So I'm going to change the filter cap out first, and then we'll power it up. Then from there we'll change them maybe one at a time and see what the cause and effect are with each one. Okay, here's the filter cap right here. Once I get this filter cap changed, I believe I can put this on my radio holder. So anyway, here's the filter cap. It's three section. If you'll notice right here, below here, there is a capacitor, and this is a 0.2 microfarad, 600 volt, that goes between the Z, which is the floating B minus. The B minus is not on the chassis, and then this is what connects it between there and the actual chassis ground itself. So we will put a safety cap in that position right there. But when we're talking about ground or anything from this point, we're going to be looking at Z, and if you look up this part, this ties to Z. Okay, so these capacitors are tied to Z, which is the common B minus or the common ground. That happens to be right here out the end of the capacitor, and it goes to pin 8 of the 12SQ7. There is no pin 8. There is no connection for pin 8. So that is just a terminal block. That's a 10 meg resistor that feeds pin 2 of the 12SQ7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this ground and try to pull this capacitor out so that we can see maybe some more of the nomenclature of this capacitor, and see where the other 3 leads actually go to. I just went ahead and cut the leads, cut the ground, and cut the other 3 leads. They're easily identifiable, so we'll be able to trace those out. There's nothing really on this that says, just other than these 3 are positives. One of them is a 40 and a 20 at 200 microfarads, and the other one is a 20 at 25. I didn't say that right. 40 microfarads, 20 microfarads at 200 volts, working volts, and then 20 microfarads at 25 volts. So should be able to mount them on this board here and have plenty of room in here. So let's go in here and we'll trace out and see. One of them's red, one of them is brown, the other one is green, I believe. But I think we can be able to, based upon how I cut them out, which ones go where. All right, I told you that sometimes this is like being a detective. So we know that this is 35A, 35A, 35B, and 35C. Okay, 35A, if we look down here, is the 40 microfarad. Now we'll put a 47 in that place, and then the B is 20 microfarads at 25 volts, and then the C is 20 microfarads at 200 volts. So I don't know if I've got any that low. I may end up just putting what I got, which is probably 450 volts. But let's look where A is connected. We know that it goes to the common negative. So this comes down and goes, I'll get you on camera here. This goes down and goes to the cathode of the rectifier tube, which is pin 8. Well, over here is your rectifier tube, and pin 8, you probably can't see it, but the key is, and I can't even see for the camera, right here's pin 1, so right here's pin 8. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a wire that runs up and around and goes to this pin right here. So from here to here is going to be our 47 microfarad capacitor. Okay. Now let's look at B, or Bravo, and it goes to the cathode of the 50L6, which is pin 8 of the 50L6, which is right down here. So there's the key, there's pin 8, there is an orange looking wire here, and we will see where it goes to. Let's see, does it? And it goes to this one right here. So that's going to be the 20 microfarad at 25 volts. There. Okay. Now, the Charlie, 35 Charlie, which is the 20 microfarad at 200 volts, it goes to pretty much pin 4 of the 50L6, but it goes to the B plus line here. But if you'll look, that's number 4 pin of the 50L6, which is right here. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. And here's the wire. It comes up and goes all the way to right here. So we'll have the 20 microfarad, 200 volts, will go from here to here. The 20 at 25 volts go from here to here, and the 47 will go from here to here. So, but while I was looking there, maybe you can see, I've got a hidden one down in here, and I've got to try to figure out how to, fortunately, I think there's enough, well, I've zoomed it in and you can't see it. Anyway, I think there may be enough leads to be able to identify it and change it. I'll have to change that out before I put these in. Let me cut in right here and say that I misspoke there. This, I said it went to pin 8 of the 12SQ7, which there is no connection I stand corrected. That is one of the heater pins of the 12SQ7. And if you'll look on the schematic, if you look on the schematic, the Z is the negative, and that's what we're going to make the negative terminal of the plug, is it goes to the Z. And if you'll notice that the 12SQ7 is tied to Z also. So if you'll look right down here, that's the pin 8. This wire here runs down to this pin here. And if you'll look, this is the one of the power cords. So this lead here, and you can very well see there is no pin. This is a terminal here. This is just where there's a terminal block off of this 50L6 tube. That is pin number, I have to count it. It's hard to see sometimes. It's getting tough getting old, guys, I'm telling you. And the camera don't help me either. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pin 6 on this tube socket is floating. So not even a pin on the tube. So that's, I misspoke there. So now back to my video. I've replaced the electrolytics. If you'll remember, here's the floating common, and so there's the 47 microfarad. Remember, it goes to this tab. The 20 microfarad, that's a 22. This was originally 40. I put a 47 in. This was originally 20, and this is a did I order a 20? I had to order it. Did I order a 20 or a 22? Let me look and see real quick. I ordered a 22. So there's the 22, and remember, it went to this terminal, and then another 22 at 450 volts. It goes to this one here. So let's plug this up and see if it'll play now that I've got the filters replaced. Okay, I'm going to power this up. I've got this hooked to the B+, and I believe, best I can tell, 91 volts is what we're looking for. I've got the variac down. I'll tell you what the current is as we go up. Switch is on. So we're going to go up to about 30 volts or so. Current way less than 100 milliamps. Let's go up a little more. Let's go to about 60 volts or so. Still less than 100 milliamps, but there is some current. I expect the B+ to start coming up on the next voltage increase. I'm starting to see some illumination here in the lamp. That's a pretty good sign. Should start seeing, now we're starting to see the B+. Typically when you get 80, 90 volts, you'll start seeing some results on these. Okay, there's 90 volts, about 150 milliamps, starting to see some B+ come up now. Remember, B+ is supposed to be around 90 or so. Okay, we got some sound. Sounds like a volume control, maybe. Alright, current looks good. Let's go on up to about 110 or so. Yeah, definitely got volume control we need to work with.
Together, we can lift them up and free them from fear, abuse, and worse. Keep your eyes up and look out for anyone you think may be suffering at the hands of others.
A little bit of distortion maybe, but I haven't changed the rest of the capacitors either. So,
this message sponsored by Street Grace.
all right, so we have success.
If you're experiencing symptoms of the coronavirus, or
And I'm running about 220 milliamps. But you can definitely tell that volume control needs some work. All right, we're going to stop the video there. It's running a little long. We're going to spray some deoxide in the volume control, and we'll go through and change these capacitors one by one in the next series, and then we'll compare and see you know, how it improves the sound or anything like that. If you like what you saw, I'd ask you to hit subscribe, like it, share the video. So that'll be it for now. So from Larry, from the hills of Tennessee, thanks for watching.